Welcome back, viewers. All wars are destructive, but this is getting into a danger zone where Zelensky thinks if the talks fail, this could lead to Third World War. As President Biden travels to Poland, Poland thinks they would have to send their troops in. And of course, Ukrainian cities getting bombarded, demolished, destroyed. Where are we heading? Any strategy there in the mind of President Putin? Also, success of India's diplomacy, the Modi government taking on the non-alignment to next level, where Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, Chinese newspaper Global Times, Australian ambassador to New Delhi, they all in praise of the balancing act we have done, at the same time asking Russia to stop this destruction. And then, of course, the mainstreaming of the Kashmiri Pandit narrative. All these in the debates with Arnab Goswami.
Absolutely, Abhishek. But spot on when you said there that the most worrying part is that this war is getting into a phase. The kind of weapons being used, the kind of loose talk about nuclear threats. I think it's getting into an uncertain zone, and I'm personally very uncomfortable about it. And we'll talk about that. Let's begin the debate.
Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 9. Presented by Amity University. Powered by Century Ply, RP Sanjeev Goenka Group and Ever Ready.
Gentlemen, good evening. The war is entering a very dangerous and uncertain phase now. It is also likely to be the bloodiest phase. It's day 27 tomorrow. If a solution is not found in the next 3 or 4 days and the war enters into a second month, then the prophecies of a catastrophe could well come true. The nuclear threat being thrown around every second day has made us immune to its possibility, and that's exactly what's worrying. If Putin wants a face saver, I say give him one. Give him one, but end this war. Stretching it any longer, just for the sake of egos, is dangerous. Russia has started using hypersonic weapons. And the explosions in Kiev and the heaviest ever bombarding of Mariupol and the ammonia leak, all of this is a signal in a terrible direction. This war is entering its bloodiest phase. Deadlier weapons are being used. And Zelensky should think thrice before loosely talking about the possibility of World War III. World War III will mean the annihilation of entire cities. World War III will mean hundreds of millions of innocents will carry the consequences on them. This geostrategic seesaw carrying on is not good. It will not end well. We're doing our best reporting as of now, viewers, with more than 14 crew members reporting right in the middle of the war zone. Your network, the Republic Media Network, has one of the largest field presence of any global news organization. We are flooded, ladies and gentlemen, flooded with your messages for our crew, and we are very proud of their tenacity and their grit. But viewers, I have a very simple question as I begin this broadcast tonight. How difficult is it really to stretch it? And how difficult is it really to end it? Ladies and gentlemen, who's going to blink first? Debate 1, debate 2 tonight. Joining me on top of the show this evening, I have the economic advisor to President Zelensky joining me, Oleg Ustenko, key man for Zelensky's team. Debate number 2 tonight. India's game changer, super diplomacy, has Prime Minister Modi totally stumped the West. He's getting appreciated all over for his neutrality on this end. And debate number 3 this evening. How does the Pandit reality threaten Indian integrity? The politics over the Kashmir files. And here are the headlines this Monday evening on the debate tonight. From hypersonic missiles to missile strikes on Kiev, the bloodiest phase of the war has officially begun. Zelensky fears World War III, says escalation around the corner if talks with Putin fail. Russia hits back hard at America, Moscow ready to sever ties with America. From buying oil from Russia to engaging the Quad and countering China, it's a Modi masterclass in global diplomacy. And is back to the wall, and even the Pakistani army against him, Imran Khan's days are now numbered. And what's with the opposition and Kashmir files? From Yechuri to KCR, they are busy giving the film a communal spin. And ladies and gentlemen, in the last 48 hours, Russia has fired the nuclear-capable hypersonic missiles. It has surrounded more cities. The indication from the war zone in Ukraine is that the battle is only going to get more fierce. Both sides are taking heavy damage as the war rages on. Here's what's happened in the last 24 hours, and then we open the debate.
वहाँ पे धमाके हुए हैं.
Ukraine has launched an attack.
ये जंग अपने चरम पर पहुंची हुई है और
युद्ध के क्षेत्र में सुखोई का इस्तेमाल करके ऐसी तबाही हुई है.
The anti-tank weaponry have made.
In 25 days of the war, Republic Global reporting crew has already covered 19 cities, documenting the large-scale devastation that has taken place. We are still on the go, getting you live reports from every city that has been affected by the shelling and missile strikes. One thing that stands out in all the cities that we have covered so far is large-scale destruction and scenes of despair. From maternity wards to schools, all have been targeted in every city that we have been to.
From bombardments to ruins, we have travelled through it all and will continue to. Even as the fifth round of talks continue between Russia and Ukraine, there are all-out signs of escalation from both sides.
And Russia has rejected ceasefire during negotiations.
Впевнений, ви розумієте, що переговори не є простими і приємними, але вони необхідні, бо це про життя. Україна завжди шукала мирного рішення, тим більше ми зацікавлені у мирі зараз, бо це ми рахуємо кожного вбитого. Бо це для нас має значення кожна зруйнована родина, кожен зруйнований будинок. Бо ми українці, і для нас людина безцінна.
Team Putin has issued another nuke threat and launched the deadly supersonic missiles.
On the night of March 21, high-precision air-launched cruise missiles struck the training center for foreign mercenaries and Ukrainian nationalist formations, Novaya Lyubomirka, combined arms training ground in Rovinskaya region. More than 80 mercenaries and nationalists were killed.
The West remains a spectator, but US and Turkey are now reportedly discussing the transfer of S-400s to Kyiv. Over a dozen NATO ships have sailed to Stockholm after military drills.
and reports are claiming that Putin has moved his family to a safe and secret underground city.
That's not where it ends. Putin reportedly disclosed to top general his plans to carry a nuke evacuation drill.
На нахуй. Ебать.
Meanwhile, questions looming in the last 24 hours whether Zelensky is threatening World War III or setting terms.
блокадний Маріуполь увійде в історію відповідальності за воєнні злочини. Зробити таке з мирним містом, що зробили окупанти, це терор, який будуть згадувати і через століття. І чим більше українці говорять про це світові, тим більше ми знаходимо підтримки. Чим більше Росія застосовує терору проти України, тим гірше наслідки наступають для неї.
Are Russia and Ukraine together pushing this war into the bloodiest phase, now with the most deadly bombardments in Mariupol and massive explosion in Kyiv? Where is it all headed?
Mr. Oleg Ustenko is economic advisor to the president of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky. Mr. Ustenko, we are getting extremely concerned with especially your president Volodymyr Zelensky's latest video address, where he said that if the talks fail, and he said, I quote, this would mean that this is a third world war. This could mean, he said, that this is a third world war. Why is he using this phrase?
Because hello, and let me please say that obviously, the current circumstances in Ukraine, that many of our cities are already destroyed. We have number of reports of killed civilians, killed children, more than 100 people, kids were killed already. A number of women were raped by Russian soldiers. Why President Zelensky is saying that it's already a world war? He's basically referring to that the war is really on the territory of Ukraine. However, since we have a huge support, from all over the world, and now the world is very clearly divided between two camps. One camp is a light, camp who is a civilized camp, which is fighting for its land, for its people, and this is one part of the story and one front, and another front is those who are in the dark, who are trying to kill, who are real mothers, and who are really doing what is called a war crime. And actually, switching to President Biden, when he was talking about Putin, he was saying that Putin is a war criminal. So basically, this is a war between criminals and, normal civilized people. So from this point of view, we can call this war as a real, third world war.
No, but for there to be, first of all, I think we must not speak about a World War III, because World War III is saying that there is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the whole world should now come to war. It's a way of saying that all countries around the world should divide themselves into two blocks, that all the armies of the world should be involved in it, and there should be a world war. Our own view, my own view would be, Mr. Ustenko, that it's good as if this ends as quickly as possible, and instead of trying to escalate this into a world war. Also, Mr. Ustenko, for World War III, there has to be a bloc. What is the Ukrainian bloc? Because militarily, officially, no others are getting involved. Have you spoken to your allies on the possibility? When Mr. Zelensky spoke about a World War III, is he getting a support for a world war kind of situation from any potential allies?
Look, I absolutely agree, and President Zelensky confirmed it many times in his messages that we really need to stop this war. And the president of Ukraine pointed out many times that he is prepared to sit on the table with President of Russia to have, to have a peaceful resolution of this war. Obviously, we want to stop this war as soon as possible. However, if you are asking in terms of different military blocks, yes, you are absolutely right. In terms of military blocks, there was an offer which was circulated during the President Zelensky's speech in the US Congress last week, when he was proposing to create a special enforcement bloc which is going to support countries which are under, that kind of circumstances, including the war. So yes, if you are asking in terms of bloc, yes, definitely. Ukraine is not a member of any bloc. You are absolutely right. There is nothing like that now.
Yeah, but do you also feel, Mr. Ustenko, that the more we make these kind of comments, and then from the Russian side we keep hearing that Vladimir Putin is planning to carry out a nuclear evacuation drill after moving his family to a safe and secret underground city, and every second day there is a risk of nuclear escalation. So this is getting into a very critical and dangerous phase of this war, Mr. Ustenko.
Absolutely. And look, that's why actually this is another reason why this war has to be stopped. And we are counting on international support on this matter as well. And what I can tell you from my side as an economic advisor to President Zelensky, I can tell you that, look, we have basically two fronts now. One front is where we have our brave soldiers and our militants who are fighting with Russian fascists. On the other side, we have an economic front, and this economic front is also extremely important. What is really important now is to block all Russian revenue they're receiving from their export, and especially energy export. And when we are talking about current situation in Russia, we believe that we have to cut them off from oil receipts. Why it's important? Because oil is about 40% of Russian budget. And whoever is buying this oil from Russia is supplying money to Russia, which are used by the Russian Federation to buy equipment, to buy weapons, to kill my people, to kill people in Ukraine. And that's why we are constantly insisting that has to be stopped. This has to be stopped. And that's why we have many concerns in terms of whoever is doing that kind of business of Russia. This is not just a supply of bloody money to Russian Federation, but it's also a financing of war criminals. So whoever is supplying that kind of money is making also a war crime. And this is important to know. And as you know, we are going to win this war. And since we are going to win this war, and since the whole civilized world is on our side, we are going to find everybody in the very, hidden corner of the world. We will find that person, we will find that company which is financing this war machine of the Russian Federation now. That's why I'm saying you that yes, it's possible to stop this war, and this war has to be stopped. And yes, there are many items on the table which are under discussion now, but it's also true that we are counting on the support of the whole civilized world, and also for the support of Indians who are also on our side. We do believe that with the support of such a huge, big, really players on the world map, such as India, we will be able to stop this war, to win this war. But you guys have to keep in mind that whatever, under no circumstances, you should not supply bloody money to Russia. Boycott all Russian products. Boycott Russian oil. Whatever is possible. Yes, I understand that there are certain economic consequences for you also, but think about our people who are hidden under the ground for already 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks. Our people are under the ground. And I must tell you that it's not India. It's a very, very cold weather now. And, people are sitting in these bomb shelters without water, without sun, in a very cold places. The temperature in there is around 3-4 degrees of Celsius. So trust me, we are the most, who want to finish this war.
Yes.
But we want
Mr.
also
Ustenko,
to pass this message to Russia.
Mr. Ustenko, I completely understand what you're saying, but I would also say, just respond to you most politely, that Zelensky should stop talking about World War III. NATO did not do much for you. The no-fly zone request fell on deaf ears. The US has not sent fighter jets. The bottom line is, I still hold a view that while I completely stand with you, and as you know, India has given a lot of humanitarian aid, continues to want to work very hard to end this war, and our heart goes out to everyone suffering in Ukraine. We've seen it. We have reporters on the ground. We know you're not lying. We know your people are suffering, but we have to end this. We have to end this, Mr. Ustenko, before it goes into a second month. This has to be ended at some point, sooner than later. We've got to de-escalate very quickly. I understand your passion, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Oleg Ustenko, economic advisor to Zelensky, thank you very much for your impassioned early intervention on my debate this evening. And I'm opening up this evening with Peter Zalmayev from Kiev, from the Eurasia Democracy Initiative, Sasha Romanotska, and Sasha is joining us from Kiev as well, and Volodymyr Solovian of the New Geopolitics Research Network from Kiev, and Jack Barsi is joining us with the headphones there on the top right of your screen. He's a former KGB agent, now a US citizen. He's joining us from New York. Thank you very much. And joining us as well from the Russian perspective, Nikita Menkovich of the Eurasian Analytical Club, Boris Volkonsky, associate professor at Moscow State University, Alexander Bovdunov, very passionate geopolitical analyst, and Dr. Daria Dugina, political analyst. This is getting very, very worrisome. It's day 26. It's for the Russians to end it now. Dr. Daria, it's for the Russians to end it now. You know, sporadically the Russians speak of de-escalating, and then they again put their feet back on the accelerator, almost as if this war has no end. The nuclear threats are back. Hypersonic missiles are being used. Peter, welcome into the debate. Hypersonic missiles are being used. And the weapons are getting deadlier and deadlier, which are being used right now, and the casualties are more and more civilians. Daria, this is making no sense. It's making no sense. Russia has to stop this deadliest phase of the war.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I would like to point out a very important thing which you have raised, the topic of the geopolitical confrontation between the West and the East. And actually, we all understand that this conflict is not the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. This is the conflict of two blocks, of the multipolarity and of the unipolarity. Unfortunately, Ukraine has been held as a live shield over this unipolar world. And the thing is that now, even if Ukraine intends to do the negotiations, and Zelensky says that he is ready for that, the problem is that United States and NATO doesn't need that. So the Washington Post published recently a large article, which I would like to quote. It openly says that NATO will not accept any piece of Ukraine treaty with Russia. And actually there will be, the article explains that there will be pressure to the President Zelensky if he wants to stop the conflict. He will be blocked at the level of Verkhovna Rada, where Zelensky has no constitutional majority, or he will be brought down in the course of popular unrest of patriotic and minded Ukrainians. The thing is that now we are in a very dangerous situation, because the world free will be not the decision to start it will be not taken by Russia or Ukraine, but by the NATO. So you were raising with Mr. Ustenko a very important question on which block
So Dr. Daria, sorry to intervene, and I want to go to Peter Zalmayev. We were told today that the Russians allegedly struck a chemical plant in the Sumy area, causing an ammonia leak. There was an ammonia leak from the Sumy Kimprom chemical plant. And ammonia is toxic. So there were toxic gases in an estimated area of 2.5 kilometers from the site. What is the game plan?
Mr. Arnab, the game here is what the Russians actually, I have to give them their due. They've been honest about it the whole time. On Russian TV, if you ever watch Russian TV, they've been warning that we are going to annihilate the world if you don't do as we say. They are perpetrating a colonial policy with Ukraine. It's a war of conquest. Has nothing to do with NATO or any Nazis in Ukraine. We all know it's BS, okay? So this is an old school 19th century war of conquest that Russians are then subsequent to that trying to find reasons. And the reasons are constantly changing. They have no explanation, a good explanation what they're doing in Ukraine, and they have no end goal. They are being apocalyptic, and they're trying to scare the world.
Peter, let me take it from Boris. Peter, let me take it from Boris. To an extent, Boris is right, isn't he? Because what is this about Putin telling his top generals that he's going to carry out nuclear evacuation drills? What is this nuclear threat every second day that's coming in so casually? What is the
actually,
need for that?
I think it's just another story invented by the West or by the Ukrainians. I don't know. Ukrainians do not invent anything.
It's been reported
themselves.
all over.
Oh no! Well, I live in Russia. I haven't heard it actually. So it's
Of course you haven't heard it.
it's nothing. It has nothing to do with what's going on in Russia. So I think it's.
You're saying no. One second. Tell me one thing, Boris. One second. Tell me one thing, Boris, and I want to get Sasha in on this. Sasha, Boris says this is all propaganda. He says it's rubbish. He says there's no nuclear threat. The West is making it up. Is the West making it up? Is Ukraine making it up? Is that a Ukrainian West propaganda that's doing the rounds out there? Because you know, it's reported very diligently across the entire Western media.
Sorry, but we're waiting International Committee Red Cross mission here to bring all the bodies of Russian soldiers from our fields, because we're trying to back them to the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation don't care about their people, they don't want to even take them. So Russian Federation, first of all, lose with the propaganda for their own population. It's not a question what exactly can produce Ukrainians, because Russians don't hear us. They blocked all the alternatives way how they can do that. So biggest victims of Russia Federation like a state is their own population, because their own population not understand what happened, why they in deep crisis, economically crisis, why they in the deep their rights crisis. So yeah, I'm inside the Kiev. I'm in usual resident block, and I'm hearing bombing every time. And I know who do that, because all the people here know that.
Alexander
because we see it our own eyes.
Alexander Bogdanov, she's saying that she's right there on the ground. She hears bombing on a daily basis. You can't deny that. And Alexander C. I mean, 10 days back you were all saying, no, we're not targeting any civilians. And this all rubbish is Western propaganda. But you know, there's a daily bombing which has happened on Mariupol. 50 to 100 bombs. 500,000 residents trapped. 500,000 residents trapped, Alexander.
They're near the 1 million person around the Mariupol, and inside we have more than
maybe I will answer, not you.
Yes, Alexander. Yeah, go on, Alexander, answer.
Yes, it's my turn.
Yeah, go on, Alexander.
You are asking me to explain why Russia used force in Ukraine. It was explained long before. Ukraine President Zelensky in Munich Security Conference said openly that Ukraine is ready to reacquire nuclear weapons. His, I don't know, counselor, advisor, Mr. Arestovich in October last year said that Ukraine is preparing ballistic missiles to hit Russia and Moscow. It was openly said. Ukraine was welcomed to join NATO, and in this case we would have NATO ballistic missiles just 500 kilometers from Moscow. So for Russia it is and was existential threat, and it's war for its existence.
But Alexander, NATO's not shot a single missile in your direction. There's not been a single NATO missile attack on Russia.
Yes, what you're telling me about that we should wait until these missiles will be placed near the border. In such a case, I remind you, in nuclear crisis on Cuba, Democrat, the prominent Democrat,
Alexander, listen to me. Alexander, listen to me. Alexander, listen to me. Listen to me. The point is, I began my program tonight by saying day 27, Alexander. And history knows. You ask anybody who understands geostrategy, when a war goes into a second month, it becomes extremely bloody, extremely deadly, and extremely unmanageable. My question is tonight, What is the game plan? You've used...
Yes.
One minute. Who wants to come in? Nikita wants to come in. Okay, so Nikita, tell me, why was the Kinzhal hypersonic missile used? Why is Russia using hypersonic missiles? Tell me.
What is the problem for you? We have hypersonic missiles.
Yes?
May I say a word? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, Russia may use any missile which is enough to stop Ukraine aggression. As we remember, it is Ukraine who started this war, attacked Donbass, and killed more than 10,000 of people. Should Russia wage aggression against Russian territory?
Tried it in 1941 with Germany, and it gives nothing. So now we have no choice but to come to Ukraine, stop these terrible terrorists. I mean Kiev puppet regime, controlled in fact not by Ukrainians, but by British and America. You see here Mr. Ustenka, but Mr. Ustenka, advisor of Mr. Zelensky, he's not Ukrainian in fact. He lives in Great Britain. He's paid by Blazer Foundation, and he only comes to Ukraine to rule there from the Great Britain. And now he comes to your television and he thinks that India is still a colony of Great Britain and ordering you what to do and what to buy. It's absolutely British behavior we see here. I understand that you could hardly find real Ukrainian people to defend official Kiev position. We see here Mr. Zalmai, American agent. We see here Mr. Ustenka, British agent. But Mr. Zalmai,
who's
Peter Zalmai from United States, New York. And the second way, we better talk about maybe you should invite here Kherson people.
Mr. Arnab.
No, 1 minute.
Kherson people.
May I say this?
Well, 1 minute.
I'd like to finish my speech, sir.
May I say something?
As I said, you'd better invite here Khersonian people who ask for weapons to stop the Ukraine regime. Kherson is now free, and local people come to Ukraine, to Russian army and ask for weapons.
Okay, so Nikita, listen, Nikita, I don't do any balancing here, okay, my friend, but what I'm saying, in a war, nobody's perfectly right and nobody's perfectly wrong. You call Peter a CIA agent, you call him a spy, you call him a terrible man, no problem, you call him names, but that's not the issue here. Peter, I know you want to react to him because he called you something. But should I go back to...
But please, give me at least a minute or two without interrupting. Nikita, stop. Let me say something. First of all, yes, this is Nikita is engaging in ad hominem accusations. He doesn't even know my last name. My last name is not Zalmai, it's Zalmayev, okay, for your information. That just tells you what kind of information he has. Okay, and just without concentrating, without getting distracted on his causa belli, Nikita, please stop. Without being distracted to what he says about the cause of war, how Ukraine is threatening Russia with nuclear weapons, which is patently. Mr. Arnab, can I please speak? Can I please speak?
Because you are going to be
would you please be quiet? Would you be quiet and let me speak? Okay, I did not interrupt you. So what I was saying is, apart from his ridiculous and patent falsity that Ukraine was threatening Russia with nuclear weapons, once again, we have a precedent for this. Nazi Germany accused little Poland of staging an attack, and so the war against Poland was defensive. We have already been there. Vladimir Putin's regime is acting like a Nazi regime. In 1938, everyone sees it. But quite apart from that, he is twisting and turning the situation in Kherson, one of the very few places that Russia has under occupation right now. Just today, the Russian occupants started shooting at the crowd. For all these days, for 2 weeks in a row, Ukrainians have been coming out on the square with Ukrainian flags and telling the occupants to go home, the occupiers to go home. They want Kherson to remain Ukrainian. Peter
and Nikita. My question goes next to Volodymyr Solovey, and please, for a minute, I want to get in Volodymyr, I want to get in Jack Barsi. All I'm concerned about, and all that the whole world watching this program is concerned about, and the people of India are concerned about, and across the world people are concerned about, is, are we heading, Volodymyr and Jack, into a bloodbath. We can keep pointing fingers at each other that who bothered whom, who led up whom. But today the people of Ukraine are burying their citizens in mass graves. Is that not a fact? Are we going to see a big bloodbath? What's your concern? Volodymyr first, and Jack hasn't spoken yet. Volodymyr, I'm only concerned about the human suffering that's likely to follow.
Thank you very much for having me. At first, I have to say that we don't have to overestimate Russian blackmail of using nuclear weapon, because obviously that this is the last thing that they can do, because they are losing ground. Russian army cannot achieve any goal on the ground, and Russians have faced with large amount of casualties, and they can't achieve any goal. So this nuclear blackmail and the main goal of this nuclear blackmail by Putin is to threaten Europeans, the West, to provide Ukraine with a weapon, so we could stop Russian advance and achieve the victory in this war. But obviously, war is going to the stage of exhaustion of every side of this war, and it will may prolong for a long time. It's obviously that it is a disaster for Ukrainian economy, but we don't have any right to any possibility to stay defenseless. So we will fight until last foot of Russian occupiers will leave our territory. We really have no choice, because if we will not receive
so here's a question here.
Of security, we will not be able to restore our economy.
Yes. Jack, here's a question, and this constant nuke threat is what I want to start with. And my point is, and Alexander, you'll understand this, Boris, that if Russia is actually on solid ground and does not need to make provocations, then why is Russia constantly hinging on escalating the war by needling a nuclear threat? What is the game plan there? What is the purpose of this constant nuke that seems to be coming from Russia? Yes, Jack, you want to take that?
Okay. First of all, let me just, and I hope nobody will speak over me, because I want to say something very calmly. Let me just first state, I am not speaking on behalf of the United States. I'm speaking, this is my own opinion. Obviously, as an ex-KGB agent, I have been following what's going on with my ex-colleague, Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin has always used very, very strong rhetoric, and this hasn't changed. And actually, in his most recent speech to his cabinet, he got very angry, and I haven't seen him this angry ever. And he was actually lashing out to his own citizens, some of them. That indicates, no matter what people say, that indicates it's not going as well as he thought. So now this escalation, as well as the escalation by Zelensky talking about World War III, is very dangerous. Because at one point we might just believe in our own rhetoric, and then all hell will break loose. And World War III doesn't just mean some cities will be destroyed. I think the whole planet will go to waste. So what I'm really concerned with, and I don't think Mr. Putin is suicidal. When people think he's crazy and he's will blow up the earth, he's not suicidal. But my concern is the escalation to a high level of readiness in the nuclear arsenal brings with it the possibility of a mistake, the possibility of misunderstanding what the other side is going to do, the possibility of a preemptive first strike. We were there I was alive, and I was actually operating as an agent on behalf of the KGB in the United States. We were there during the Cold War 3 times. We got very, very close to nuclear weapons being released based on a misunderstanding of what the other side was going to do. And that's all. I am scared like I haven't been scared since a long time ago. And I'm not so scared about myself, but about my children and grandchildren.
You know, I want to take you up a little bit more on that. And Jack, you've really brought the debate back on track. And I'm grateful to you for that, because you've spoken from a perspective which is fairly neutral. You understand where the Russians are coming from. You know where the threats are coming from. And you know, like you, I've been very concerned, Jack, that there are things which people plan and there are things which people don't plan, right? Are we getting into that phase, Jack, where unplanned things may happen? Are you there? Can you hear me? Did I lose the audio? I think I lost the video with it. I think it'll be just coming back. But that's the point. That's the point, Boris. Boris, that's the point, Alexander. The things can just go out of hand. And Putin cannot afford to lose. So he may do something extremely dangerous and immature and irrational and disastrous for the world, because he thinks he's not winning easily.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Boris.
No.
I'm hearing you, Boris. You heard me, Alexander. Would you like to take that? Would you like to take that?
Yes, I hear you. When we're speaking about the possibility of nuclear warfare or about the Third World War, I think that the World War III is actually going on. And some Russian experts say that it has started in 1999 with NATO bombings of Yugoslavia, Azerbaijan, 9/11, because World War is a process and is in its core is change of the economical and political structure of the world.
Let me ask you very
And when we talk about
Alexander, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just asking you one point. No. Can Putin afford to push the nuclear button? Right? Hasn't he isolated Russia enough already?
I think that Russia can use nuclear weapons in only case if NATO countries will be involved in this conflict. And in this case, yes, the situation may deteriorate to the point when the possibility to pass this nuclear threshold will be really high.
Okay. Here's the question, Jack. You're hearing that, Jack? This is getting very serious.
But not highly likely.
Jack, you heard Alexander. He's talking about a situation that if NATO gets involved deeper, then the nuclear threshold may be crossed. What do you think?
That kind of talk is like...
Not immediately, but in the process.
Just 1 minute.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nukes should be out of the equation, because you explode one, the others will follow.
Do the Russians realize that? Do the Russians realize that?
I don't know. You know, this. I still believe that the Russian government is not suicidal. The Soviet government never was either. That's why. But eventually there was no nuclear war, even though we got really close to the Cold War.
We have never, Charles, Jack. We have never come this close. The world has never come so close to talking about these kind of weapons.
No, you're mistaken. No. You're mistaken. We have never come this close in a public discourse. But during the Cold War, we came very close. Nobody knew about it.
Yeah, but you know what happens is that, Jack, that when things become public, it becomes complicated. It puts pressure on individuals, politicians.
Yes.
When things are not public, things can be sorted out behind the scenes. When things become public, then leaders are playing to the gallery, no?
Yes, you're absolutely right, and that's why I was saying I don't like this entire discussion that on both sides. Sorry about that.
No, we don't like it either. But Boris, this brinkmanship is not good. I think there needs to be at some point of time a statement of intent, at least from Russia, Instead of using the nuclear card for leverage, Russia must be a responsible country. Make a responsible statement and a commitment that it does not,
I agree.
it must make a responsible commitment to humanity, that it will not cross that threshold. This brinkmanship is disastrous, Boris. No.
And in the United States too.
What do you think, Alexander? Boris, what do you think? Boris, you heard me?
Well, actually, whatever talks we hear about the use of nukes, it came from Zelensky, who threatened the Third World III. And I agree with Alexander that the World War III started a long time ago, maybe in different forms, but it was Zelensky who actually raised the issue of nukes, and not Russia.
Why are we talking about this? What is the need? I mean, what is one going to get out of it? I mean, no. If we want to bomb each other into the Stone Age, and you know what's going to happen, Boris? Anyone opens up a nuclear threshold, nobody will win this. No. We're clear about it. Russia even tactically tries to use nukes.
About a nuclear war.
Pardon me?
No.
Russia is not talking about a nuclear war. There is no nuclear threats coming from Russia.
Okay, Peter, you're hearing this? Peter?
Yes, Mr. Arnab, let me just say for 1 minute, and then I'm going to have to go. I have another, we're streaming. We actually have launched a YouTube service to try to bypass Russian propaganda. Vladimir Putin has imposed a complete blockade on Russia. Maybe our guests are also, victims of the blockade. They are living in an invented reality. Very quickly, the nuclear situation with Ukraine. In 1993, Russia, along with the U.S., signed a guarantee. It's called Budapest Memorandum, in return for which Ukraine turned over its nuclear weapons to Russia, and it received its guarantees. In 2014, Russia violated that agreement. What Zelensky was talking about that violation. What the Russians have done, they took it to mean that Ukraine is developing nuclear weapons to attack Russia. It is obvious nonsense. There is a regime, there's a nuclear regime, they are monitoring it. Ukraine is nowhere near developing these weapons. And let me just say in closing what's happening and why we are talking nukes these days is because Vladimir Putin, like my Ukrainian colleague has already mentioned, Vladimir Putin sees no clear path to military victory because their world's second largest army was exposed as a corrupt and inefficient entity, and everyone has been ridiculing it. The whole world has seen a king that is naked. The emperor is completely naked. Vladimir Putin knows that there's no victory, and that means his political and maybe physical death. And so he would rather see us all die than die himself. This is what we're dealing with, Mr. Arnab.
But it's extremely worrying. Jack Barsi there took the debate on another direction, but as he said, he's a former KGB agent. He knows Putin's mind well. I'll request you to come in once more because a lot of viewers want to understand how Putin would be thinking in this. Maybe we'll try and get you tomorrow if you have the time. Viewers, in the middle of all this, all the people who were critical of India's stand are suddenly saying, no, Prime Minister Modi has done a fantastic job. It's not a balancing act that India has done.